Hey, everybody out there. This is John Gums, Dakota Grappler Live. Got some special guests for you tonight. We're going to have some fun talking wrestling with Monte and Milo Trusty, legends of the sport in North Dakota. I followed them since I was 8 and 9 years old. In fact, I always wished I was in their club when I was young because I would have done anything to wrestle 24/7. But I was in a small town and we didn't have the same ability. And these guys, um, we're going to get into that history. I tell you what, I love these guys that what they're doing for the sport and what they've done for the sport in the past. They're both in Colorado right now, and if you look up Trusty in Colorado, it's all over the newspapers. Monty's done phenomenal things for the sport. Many state champions, guys that are going D1. There's so many things. Milo, he's Mandan's first wrestling champion, state champion for where I coached many years. He's on the board, the first guy on the board in the room, Milo Trusty.
Yeah.
Yep. And he wrestled at Valley City State in college. I'm trying to think of all the things I know. He's same place my dad went to school, teaching school. He actually was the first wrestling coach at Century High School, if I remember right, head coach.
Yep.
So when Century started their new high school, he was the first coach there. And he was also the first coach at University of Mary for wrestling. He's got a lot of firsts and phenomenal record. And so the first person, everybody knows everybody on here, but this is going to turn into a podcast. So if anybody out there has questions, feel free to ask. We are live both on Facebook, and you can also retrieve this from YouTube or ask any questions. We'll get several people on here, but I want to go straight to Milo before I even go to Bill. Milo, tell me the first question I want to ask you is, who started you in wrestling, or how did you get involved in wrestling?
I was at Mandan High School, and it was early November, and I was just leaving the building. And as I was leaving, there was a guy standing by the door waiting for me. And his name was Kenny Clouston. He's still in Mandan. And he didn't know what my name was for sure. He called me Trusky. He said, hey, Trusky, you want to go out for wrestling? And I said, sure. And that was it.
And what year was that?
1960.
1960.
Yep.
Okay.
I was 15 years old.
Okay. And now there's always crazy stories about some of Milo Trusty stories going way back. Now, what took you to the next level? When did you really start feeling that you were learning the sport and wanted to wrestle beyond high school and all those things?
Well, it just I wasn't good at sports. Of course, my mom was a single mother, and she had 4 kids, and there was nobody I was the oldest, so there was nobody to play catch with or any of that. So I couldn't do other sports much. And wrestling just was fun from the first minute. And I've loved it ever since. I mean, it's just, I can't get enough of it, but I mix it up with other things.
So tell us, okay, I want to tell us when you got to Valley City State, some of your teammates. Let's go high school. I wanted you to throw a couple names out there. Some of the people that were right with Mandan with you.
Well, your dad was on that team.
Okay.
Marlon Schlager. He lives in Jamestown. Del Schwartz. Dennis Freestead. Bud Schmitz. Just to name a few of the guys that Bud refereed a long time. And Del Schwartz coached out in California, and Dennis Freestead coached at Valley City High School.
Yeah.
There's some of the guys from that team back then. Joe Welder, he coached at West Fargo. John Welder. John Welder was on that team. He helped at Century when you guys were wrestling.
Yep.
You remember John?
Very well.
So that gives you an idea who all was on that.
Well, here's one of the big things that people didn't realize, that in the 70s and 80s, with Valley City being a teaching school, and it lasted even into the 2000s, it was about 80% of the coaches in the state were somehow connected to Valley City State.
Yeah.
And so the connection, and so when Valley City dropped their wrestling program in the in early middle 90s from Title IX, it was a disastrous for coaching in the state of North Dakota.
Yeah, we had a really high percentage of coaches in that state in North Dakota too, actually.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Well, I'm going to ask you a ton of questions. I want to go to Monte. Monte, introduce yourself to people out there, and then tell them where you're at and where you're coaching.
Monte Trusty.
Everyone knows Monte is just Monte.
Yeah. I'm out in Windsor, Colorado, and been coaching Windsor High School. I think this is my 12th year or 13th, somewhere in there. So Windsor is Fort Collins, or if you know Denver, it's an hour north of Denver. So you go straight up I-25, and it's a little town of about, well, I guess we're about 40,000 now. When I first moved here, we were about 20,000. So
how did you get involved with the Windsor program?
Well, I've lived here, and then there was a coach that had coached there, I don't know, 25 years, 20 years, something like that. And he retired. And when I found out he retired, I just called the school.
So you'd like to help out?
Yeah, and before that, I was helping out at Loveland High School, which is a little bit southwest of Windsor. And I was just helping out with them, and found out Windsor job the coach was retiring, and I just called the school, and then kind of that was
the start, and still there.
That was the start, yeah.
Well, how about the Colorado Mat Pack? When did that start?
We started Mat Pack the same year I took the Windsor job.
Okay. Because Mat Pack is such a great name. I mean, it's known everywhere. And so when I heard there was Colorado Mat Pack, I knew you guys had to be involved.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't had that in the last, I suppose it's been 5 or 6 years now.
Okay.
So another family moved in, and his name is Ben Vombar. He was a couple-time All-American at Boise State, and he was the assistant coach at UNC. He moved in and brought his kids to Windsor High School, and he started a club called Bear Cave.
Okay.
So instead of competing, I was like, hey, you take this, and
Sure.
So he has a beautiful facility right here in Windsor, and he does all our preseason and postseason training, and it's helped me a lot just to free up time when my professional career needs my attention.
Sure.
So it's been a blessing.
Well, I tell you what, running both a club, you do need the feeder program for yourself, but to do them both and coach the high school is almost an impossible task.
Yeah, it was tough, but we didn't have a choice because there was nothing there prior to that. So we got it rolling, and then I believe he has about 200 kids.
Oh.
They come from everything from northern Colorado down to the northern part of Denver, and they travel all over to convene at his workout facility.
Okay, and then so he's got a private place that's open for wrestling and stuff.
Yeah, right on his property.
Okay.
Yep.
Because that was one of the biggest things we had to get over with COVID is getting out of the schools.
Yeah.
That's kind of been one of the biggest things in the state of North Dakota, that the clubs, Mat Pack finally got their own place. Just this year.
Yeah, I saw it.
You guys knew that. Yep. And then
Where is it?
it is just south of basically Main Street. There's kind of the underpass on Washington. It's about a half block to the east, right after you go under Main Street there in Washington. It's kind of, there used to be a recruiter place for the National Guard and a kind of like a hockey, but it was kind of a little strip mall there. and they took over a place, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think Matt Pack is 42 years old now.
This is running on their 43rd year. That's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Because that 1978 team. Now let's talk history, Matt Pack, and then I want to talk to Bill for a second. I know Bill will have a ton of questions, but going back, tell me why you started the club, and what was your original goal with starting the club? And this is the biggest club that's happened in North Dakota and always has been, Matt Pack. So tell us how how'd you come up with the name maybe, and how'd you start it?
Well, I think it was Monty, me, Terry, and Troy Steiner were riding horses one day out by their place, and we're all trying to figure out a name. And then I came up with the name Matt Pack, and they all liked it right away, so we just stuck with it.
Okay.
Instead of naming it after a school or a town, we wanted it so anyone could join it, although most of the kids were from Bismarck, Mandan, mostly Bismarck.
Do you remember? I look at that. I tried to find that picture, the original. You got the Matt Pack picture, the '78 team, and I recognized so many of the faces, and I couldn't find it before tonight. I've seen it several times. I was going to get a hold of Lance Potter. I know he's got a copy of it. Do you have a copy of that original 1978?
Yeah. Well,
somewhere?
Let's see. I have a picture with 110 guys on it that we took one time. I don't know about 1978 though.
Yep.
But the guys from that time are on this big poster.
Okay. But yeah, that it had the Cedarstrums on there. I'm going to throw a few names on there. Had those original Cedarstrums. Had Pudwell on there. Had Kringley's. Other names, I'm trying to think of some other ones. There was Renner's. Yep, and Renner was just probably the smallest kid on that thing. Yep, because Renner was probably
he was actually small at one time.
Yeah,
hard to believe.
Yeah, definitely.
The McCormick boys were on there.
McCormick's, yep. Trying to think. I know that some of the St. Mary's wrestlers that wrestled later at St. Mary's.
Stidler.
Stidler.
Stidler. Probably Stidler.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, but I do have several things. So I'll let Bill introduce himself and get a small question out to you right away here.
Yeah. Well, it's a treat. I mean, going back, like I mentioned before, I went to a wrestling camp at BJC back in the mid '70s, and that Milo ran, and then as time went on, and I was able to watch the Century teams and just see what he did, and it was always kind of felt like I had this connection with him, and that was never being able to be a part of the Matt Pack, right? I mean, I grew up in Fargo. I was in Grand Forks at the time that I came to the camp, but this is kind of a treat, and it was fun to me, to kind of follow what you guys have done on Colorado. I know last year there was a kind of a mic'd up segment that was going on during the state tournament that Monty did. I think that was last year. Was that last state tournament 2020 maybe?
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool, and I shared that with a lot of people in the state that I saw. So that just a little background and stuff that it's been fun to kind of watch. So, but I guess I do have a question. When you first started that club, what was the goal? What were you planning on competing? How much summer wrestling were you seeing or were you doing in the state or in the region?
Well, the reason I started the club was I wanted partners for Monty, because all the time before that, see, he was about 8 when I started the club. And all the times before that, I could maybe find one guy here or there, like Jason Pudwell. There was a few others, but it was really hard to find partners. I had done about all I could with him because of size, and he needed people his weight. And that's why I started it. And Terry and Troy joined, and then this guy joined, and that guy joined. And then I was coaching at one of the, Bismarck had that program where after the season, the wrestlers and the coaches would go to different schools.
Sure.
And I was down on the south side, and Cedarstrums were down there, and there was about a dozen guys, Lance Potter and Christensen and those guys. So I take Monty there when I would coach, and then those guys kind of joined in the Mat Pack when that first started. So there was like, all of a sudden we had 20, 25 guys. And at first, my goal wasn't to have an actual club. I was just coaching, like I was coaching a group of guys before that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the guys that wrestled at Bismarck High, I coached them before the season. And so I always did. But then I thought, well, let's do a club, because USA Wrestling decided to have a state tournament. So then we became, us, believe it or not, us and Center, North Dakota, became the first two USA Wrestling clubs in the state.
Jerry Mattern.
Yeah, Mattern.
Yep, Mattern.
So
yep.
he really helped the USA project. And so that's how it got started. Then we quickly had 50 guys, and we took them all to the state, and all 50 placed.
It was in Minot.
Yeah, in Minot. Yep.
Yep.
And the refs were just learning freestyle on the spot, but it was great. And then later, Monty and I, or Terry and Troy and Monty, we do clinics before the matches, before the tournament started, to teach everybody the technique.
Because we knew nothing about freestyle when I grew up. It was all folk style.
Knew, and I had wrestled a lot in freestyle and Greco in Oregon for 2 years. So I wanted everybody to learn it, because if we were going to go to the regionals, which is 7 states, tough states, Midwest, then we have to have the people in our state that could do the technique. So that's why that got going.
Okay. No, because I was impressed so much, because I remember you guys were so good at headlocks. And so my dad being class B is going, what? You're getting thrown in a headlock again? And he had to learn. My first loss in any style of wrestling, freestyle, was to Jason Pudwell. I beat him in a tournament in Center just probably a couple of weeks previous. And then for some reason, I took second at state that year, just Jason Pudwell. And he had a front head, and I didn't know nothing. I always shot. And then he did a front head and a roll. And he scored points. He didn't even get behind me, and I ended up losing like by 1 point, and they were waiting, because here's what Mat Pack did. It brought camaraderie to the sport too, because you guys had 30 people around the mat. Jason Pudwell and I had the last match of the whole tournament. All the mats are rolled up, and the whole Mat Pack, and we have our 14 Napoleon kids, and Mat Pack's got like 40, 50. I don't know. It was a crowd of just little kids cheering on, and I lost. I'm going, never again am I going to lose to somebody that I didn't think was a good wrestler, because he couldn't score on me except for that front head roll. And I'm going, I didn't think you got any points. But that's an 8-year-old thinking.
Yeah, you can score without control.
Yeah.
Pretty neat.
So that was the style. So then first time my dad brought me up to wrestle with you guys, I was up at the Armory. Where did you guys practice to start? Like up at BSC?
Oh, we practiced almost every wrestling room in Bismarck, Mandan. Well, Bismarck. I did coach at Mandan too for a while, but we had it at BJC, we had it at Hughes, we had it at Century, we had it at Bismarck High, we had it at 2 or 3 different off-site buildings like they have now. Whenever we'd lose one spot, we'd have to find another one. It was tough.
Okay.
Mary, we even had it up there for a while.
But then that same year we went to nationals, and we kind of drove down the same time and went to Wisconsin. This goes back to, I don't know if you remember that, but we went out to, if it wasn't on the other side of like Madison, Wisconsin, and we wrestled at, where was it?
Lacrosse.
Yep.
Lacrosse, yeah.
Yep. We went there, went to nationals with you in Bettendorf, Iowa, with you guys at the same time. We went to Nebraska together, to Grand Island. I'm trying to think of all the different times because it was kind of interesting.
I think Springfield, Illinois was in there.
Another one. And it was kind of funny because you guys had the little carpool. McCormick's would drive a vehicle and then someone else would, and a few parents, dads. I don't know. I didn't think I saw my dad all weekend except for when wrestling was going.
When we first started, the guys would all get in the back of Tim Steiner's pickup, and he had a little topper on it, and we'd have 15 guys in the back at 20 below zero. You get to be good friends when you got to joke around and visit while you're on your way to Center, North Dakota. So that's what made our team close, is traveling together like that. Tim really got that going as far as parents goes.
Yep. I remember you scaring some kids in Center that first year. Maybe you remember this or not, but a couple of your wrestlers, Center has a pool. And there was a couple of your kids that are getting called for matches and they disappeared. They're over in the pool.
Oh,
and it was you, because we had to find Shannon Johnson, and Shannon Johnson decided he was going to go swimming. He had time for a while, and then it was with a couple of Mat Pack kids. In the high school.
Shannon wrestled for me at Mary a couple of years, but that first state tournament, Monty and Shannon Johnson wrestled in the finals of the first freestyle. Yeah. So we cross paths a lot.
Shannon is a unique person. I tell you what, because my dad basically pulled him off the milk farm. They're milkers, and such a strong kid, but just a goofball, complete goofball as a kid. I got to tell one little story. So we're taking him down to Iowa for the national tournament. My dad, my grandpa, and myself. And Shannon hadn't been anywhere. And we're driving down the road, and this biker comes by. And this biker, he's all kind of, it looks like bugs have hit him. He's been just all over the road, you name it. And we stop at this rest area, and he says to my dad, because he's got to be 7 years old maybe. He goes, "Man, that biker's dirty. But I saw him chewing gum. Do you have any gum?" And for some reason, there was a piece of gum that was sticking on the side of the car. And he goes, "That biker spit it out." Oh, and he grabbed the gum off the car and started eating it. but Shannon Johnson, yep. And we took him down there. He was very strong, willing to learn. And it was just a fun time. Same thing my dad wanted. He wanted to find someone as a partner. And Shannon and I did a lot of wrestling early on.
Well, both his boys wrestled in the Mat Pack too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes, definitely. He brought it back. A lot of Napoleon people. Definitely.
Actually, Monty got to wrestle in the first USA cadet national tournament.
Okay.
He wrestled, what was it, Mont? 90, what was it?
99.
You wrestled one weight in freestyle and was in the next weight down in Greco.
Where was that at?
Battle Creek, Michigan.
Okay.
So back when they first started, you had to take the top 4 in one of the regions to qualify for the cadet nationals. And then they did it just like everything else: 4 against 1 first round, 2 threes, and then I think it was a 16. It wasn't a very big bracket, but there wasn't any fluff in there.
Right.
Well, here's what's crazy. Monty and I never did wrestle. All the years, Monty's always smaller than me.
Well, no kidding.
Obviously smart too. If he's
Monty was only 80 pounds, 85 pounds wrestling in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I weighed 90 my freshman year in high school.
Yeah. I forget how small you were because
you were a middleweight.
Yeah. I'm now a heavyweight, but yeah.
I'm a middleweight now, kind of.
Yeah. But, wrestling Terry and Troy Steiner, I met them every weekend we went somewhere. One of those guys or a Lance Potter, or even I wrestled John Corwin at a tournament, and John was a big kid, really big kid.
Oh, yeah.
But you start thinking of all these things back. But the first time I remember watching Monty wrestle was at the Fargo Open. And this is when we're coming from Napoleon. And so I'm a fourth grader, so Monty must be a third grader at that time. And I had a huge bracket. It was like 32 pages. And get done, and I won the tournament, and I'm walking out, and Monty's got one that's like 5 pages long. he just happened to be in the bracket that had like 50 kids in it. And I'm going, oh, Dad, don't brag about mine. I only had 30 kids in mine. Monty had 50, or whatever it was. And I just remember carrying these long sheets, and it was black points. Remember those old black points?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Bill asked about what our schedule was back then, how much we wrestled. March and April, we'd wrestle about 2 months before state. That was it. We didn't wrestle that long. And then we'd have a break for a week or so. And then we'd, as a club or anybody that wanted to come, like sometimes we'd get other guys from other schools that wanted to train with us. Mandan used to come over and train with us. But we really only worked out 2 months, then a week break or two, depending on how far the region was. And then we trained for 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks for the regionals. And then we were done.
Yep.
So, we didn't really wrestle that much, but what we did do in the room got pretty intense, because the group of guys we had, none of them would want to give up a takedown. So it was war every day.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I had more fun watching practice than going to a tournament.
Yeah. Yep. Well, Chris Hermes says a good thing. You guys remember Chris wrestled for Williston. They ended up being the first Class A father-son state champs. It was that same year in 1987. And then another Williston kid upset Monty there in the finals. Monty doesn't like hearing that from, but thanks,
Yeah,
Chris.
well.
But they ended up being father-son state champs, yes, just a little bit later. Yep. I tell you what, that was a little battle. Williston guys also, they were studs in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were probably the best single leggers of any teams I've seen. They were really good at the single.
Yeah, Chris's dad actually was the coach in Williston for many years.
Big and strong too.
Oh,
yeah, they're all strong.
So true.
Tough kids.
No, I'm trying to think of the guy that I actually cut weight to get away from a Williston kid. Then he broke his collarbone against, actually, I think Cedarstrom is who he broke. He was wrestling against Bismarck High. That was my sophomore year. What the heck was his name? I'll remember it too, because he's like a biker dude now. Chris, if you remember who that would have been been 86. He was probably the number one guy at about 138. And man, he was just put together. Remember him? Up there it is, Tony Mitchell. Tony Mitchell was a complete stud, and he was about 5'6" and about 100 pounds of muscle, and the rest was gristle. Yeah, he was just tough as nails. And then he broke his arm or dislocated his shoulder, collarbone or something right before state, and I had already cut down. And then Mike Johnson ended up doing well then instead, because Mike went up to 38 and wrestled. Biggest mistake I probably ever made. And then several other people get on. Here's another one. Yep. Hi from Keith Lang to you, Milo, from the Langs.
Yeah. Oh, well,
people get on.
Yeah. Yeah. We spent a lot of time together.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It's another guy that I tell you what, that I saw him improve just technique wise, because I know he was getting a lot of training from you. It was when he was young. All of a sudden, do you remember Bismarck had the rule that 8th graders could not wrestle and until after Christmas if they weren't good enough? And then he came on as a storm on the mat all of a sudden for Bismarck High and had any matches and won the Rotary that opening weekend for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Here's a couple other ones.
Yeah, Scotty Glaser.
Oh, Scotty Glaser, another one.
And those, I trained 3 of them together. Simberger from Mandan
Okay.
and Scotty and Lang. So they would come up preseason before my college practice, and I'd train those 3 together.
3 studs. That's Elijah's. That which?
No, not Elijah.
Oh.
Josiah.
Josiah. Okay.
Josiah ended up winning the state.
Yep.
I think he got taken down 4 times first period, but he still ended up winning it. It was tough, really tough go.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I trained those 3 together. Well, how it all started is Travis said, he was an 8th grader, said, I want to get on the team at Bismarck. And I said, okay, you know how hard you're going to have to work. And he said, yeah. And then Scotty was like a year younger. And then after a week or 2, he says, I want to make the team. So I said, okay, we got to go a little tougher. And then a week later, he says, I want to go to state. And I said, well, we got to work harder. And then you willing to do that? And he said, finally, he said, I want to win the state. And I said, okay, you got to work out like a senior. And he did. And he ended up winning the state. Then he took 2nd. And then his 2nd year, he thought he was unstoppable, and he never trained like he did before. And his dad said, what do we do with him? And I said, let him lose. He did. He lost by 1 point in the finals. And then the next year, his dad said, well, what's he going to do this year? And he said, will he shoot? That's why he lost. I said, yeah, he'll shoot. He got 10 takedowns at least every match that. Never lost a match for 3 years. And then Scotty Glaser was really good. He won it, I don't know, 5 times, something like that. And it wasn't easy every year, but
nope, you put in the time and the work.
Yeah, you put in the time and the work. And like right now, I'm not coaching any high school. I was lucky enough to coach with Monte for 12 years at Windsor. And that was probably the greatest fun I ever had right there. And I got to see Monte surpass me as a coach by far. And so rules changed. I started learning from him.
Well, here might be a tough question. I haven't got to Monte enough here, but who's the tougher coach in the room? You or him?
Me or him?
Yep.
He is.
Yep. No.
Yeah, when I tell the guys the old man's coming down the hill, they know to get ready that day.
I'm an hour up the mountain from them at 8,000 feet. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, when I say down the hill, it takes them about an hour and a half to get down to the school. So they all knew the schedule when he was coming down. It was like, yeah, I'm pretty relaxed actually.
Okay.
As a coach.
Yeah, Monte's easygoing. He's really, that's a good way to be. But if the problem with me is, even if a guy never wrestled before and he's not doing the things just right, I'll stop it and show it and do it again. And I know we should be just focusing on the top guys. And that's one of the things I had to learn, is I had to back off a little on that. Monte taught me that.
Mm-hmm. Chris,
I don't know if I actually learned it.
Yeah, Windsor's about 1 hour north of Denver is where it's at, Chris. Yep. Good question. No, I tell you what, coaching styles, if you had, to pick, who you kind of tried to model around Milo, or was there anybody as you grew up that you idolized as a coach and kind of followed their model, or you just kind of figured it out on your own? What did you?
No, I never learned a lot of outside technique in high school and college. I kind of had to make up everything as I went, and became my own system.
Mm-hmm. So now, when you start the kids, what kind of mindset are you trying to put them in? Is it one where working hard pays off? Is it consistency? When somebody like you said, Travis came in and said, I want to be on the team and doing it. What are you doing mentally with these guys?
Well, when I graduated from college, I thought, I feel comfortable with coaching technique, but I felt that what I was missing is I had never been taught how to build mind power. And so I had to figure that out myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I did is I would do things that would make me give in training wise. For example, if I did 1,000 jump ropes after practice and I got, well, the first 4 or 5 nights I did that, I made it. But the next night, Coach Lemnis had me go against 5 guys in a row that were all fresh. So that night I was shot and I had to do my 1,000 jump ropes, right? So I got to 600 and I had a question in my mind, a doubt. So I had to start over. I got to 800 and I had a question in my mind. I don't feel like I'm going to make it. And I had to start over again. Nobody except me could make me do it. And I finally made it. So I found out if a kid wants something bad enough, he needs to train to a point where he's ready to give up. And then you got to have a way to fight through. For example, I'd put Travis Lang and Scotty Glaser on the Aerodyne after practice. And I'd say, okay, 1 minute, we're going to do a 1 minute go or a 2 minute go. And then as they're going, and once they're tired, I'd say, keep it above 8, which I watched to see, and they were barely keeping it at 8. And I said, if you drop below 8, you have to start over. And that's where the mind power comes in. And they would fight and fight and fight to keep it above 8 or whatever number I picked. So one day after practice, they had left like a half hour ago, and I went outside and they were sitting in their car. And I go, why haven't you guys left? Travis said, I can't put the clutch in. His legs were so tired, he couldn't put the clutch in. And, that's just one thing what I'm talking about. Or Monty would have guys leapfrog, shoot through their legs, leapfrog, shoot through their legs. And then he'd say, okay, you got to do so many in a minute. And Monty, tell him the story of the one guy that would be one short of getting that done.
Yeah, just a guy that he would stop at. He was a big guy, so we set it at 23 for him, and he'd go do 21 or 22 every time and then stop. And we stayed there for an hour and a half. Everyone left. We stayed there for an hour and a half, and he did a couple hundred of them. And finally he did 23, and we said, okay, now we're done. And he ended up being the state champ down here. So
yeah, he was. It was great.
No, I still, that's probably the toughest part of the aspect that I, as a coach, of trying to find that next level for some kids. And, you train them hard, you give them technique, and they have to have the will in their own heart sometimes. You can't put that in there. And that's the part where I would love to take that, how do you say, that extra drive, but I can't do it myself, So you have to find that special turn the corner gear, which I've always had that difficulty as a coach, that I'd love to been at that level.
One lucky thing we had at MatPack is we had guys that would show that in matches and tournaments, and the guys that were watching would go, Well, I've scored on him several times. I should be at that level too, and they would grow into that level. But you know, I thought Matt Pack was just your normal everyday club when I was coaching it, and years later I look back, and Monty and I have talked about it. It was pretty much incredible. The junior national champs that came out of that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the history of Matt Pack. If you really put it all together, it's not even funny how many state champs have come out of there. Kids wrestling, all the towns it's helped. Um, going to college, getting scholarships. It's an immeasurable the amount of what wrestling's done for those people. Definitely.
So it's a fine line. If you're what Monty and I both did at the end of practice, we'd say he would do it too. I didn't just do it. Is we'd say, okay, practice is done. As far as what we're concerned, now you guys decide what you got left to do. So then the really killer exhaust training at the end came from them.
Okay.
And if it comes from them, it's easier to take. And everybody will follow because we decided this, not the coach.
Mm-hmm.
And both of us do that a lot. And that helps.
Okay.
So I'm not, the COVID has kind of screwed me up for coaching, but I'm still coaching and probably more right now than ever. I have a grandson named Leo that's going to be 11 next month. And him and I wrestle 4 times a week. And he doesn't have access to a club. He doesn't have access. He's a 5th grader, so he's not in middle school yet. So to get him, in case he likes it and he wants to wrestle in middle school, him and I are working out together. and we're having fun. And that's one big ingredient. You guys asked about that.
Mm-hmm.
To me, there's a lot in working out that's funny. You fool a guy, it's funny, and you have to laugh. Or if he fools you, it's funny, and you got to laugh. And that Monty and I had that our whole life, and Terry and Troy, we all had that, but Monty and I especially, when we'd be working out or wrestling each other. We just sit down and start laughing because something happened, like
Mm-hmm.
one of a guy's foot would go through the sheetrock, or your head would go through sheetrock, or your elbow, and we'd write down their name and the date in the sheetrock, what happened.
Oh yeah, you had about how big was that room in your house that the wrestling mat was in?
12 by 12.
12 by 12.
Yeah, and that's what I have now when I wrestle with Leo. It's 12 by 12. So we got to be careful because we don't have walls, glass and rock and stuff. So it's, I got my hands full.
Yeah. Yep. Well, that is pretty cool. You'd be able to do that. That's one thing. If I look back, if I could have coached with my dad, I think that'd have been really special. I tell you what, that between you two being able to do that must have been awesome.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, then I want to talk just a little bit about your college experience coaching out at University of Mary. Now, you guys, you came back. There was a little celebration for you. Was that already 2 years ago? Time flies. But tell me, how did you get out at University of Mary and start coaching there? And what was your biggest hurdles that you had to take to get where you're at? You're so close to winning a national championship out there. You've had, in fact, somebody number 1 on the ladder and 2 in the Olympic ladder when it was all said and done, Carrie Bowman's.
Yeah.
And tell me your process out at University of Mary, how that all started and a little bit there.
Well, at the beginning, I didn't really get a lot of scholarships. Well, I never did get a lot of scholarships, but I had enough to get 10 guys, 1 for each weight. And we ended up 6-5 for the year. and actually 5 guys qualified for nationals, and one placed.
1988, the 88, 87, 80, 88 year was your first year, right?
1988, yeah.
Yep.
So we had a pretty good start, but then the recruiters that helped me recruit, I had to change that later. I said, okay, we're not going to tell them it's easy anymore, or that it's not really going to be difficult, because that was kind of left out.
Mm-hmm.
So all 10 quit. So actually, I started over in the next year completely, 100%. And I mean, those were good guys, and they would have done great, but they didn't want to go in the morning. So we did like morning and afternoon practice all in one, which I changed. We did mornings then after that. But I started saying, okay, look, this, if you don't want to be a national champ or a national placer and you aren't willing to work for it, then I can't use you. But if you're willing to do that, I want you on my team. I don't care what you did ever in your life. Like I had one guy from Dolan, South Dakota. He had come to me as a junior and he wanted to be on our team. Well, the next year he took 6th in state in South Dakota. And he said, do you still want me? And I said, well, are you still willing to work like you told me last year? And he said, yeah. And I said, I want you. Well, he became like a 3-time national placers and got in the national finals. And he's a knee surgeon now. You know, I mean, that's pretty much it. It doesn't matter what you've done. If we got kind of that attitude in the room, what happened was as time went on, I got guys that were willing to work, and then the rest had to follow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of like Monte's Windsor team. There's guys that want to work, and then the rest of the team has to follow. They just get left behind.
Mm-hmm.
Like last year, that was like the most incredible year I've ever been associated with. Monte puts the season together. He can tell you how he lines it up, how he plans. He plans every practice ahead of time. He plans the schedule. He plans what duels we're going to train right through and crush them anyway, and when to back off and be fresh for state. He's the master planner of all that. You know, if you're interested in asking about how you do that,
Right.
I mean, probably don't have time for all that, but there's a certain way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows he's the best at that. He's the best at getting the right schedule for the right team and the right training. When you go hard, when you go easy.
Okay. So Monte, where did you start like mastering your coaching? Because basically, you know, starting into a program, writing stuff down. I look back at my high school experience, and I honestly don't think we were coached like we could have been. You know, we learned what Terry and Troy Steiner learned at camps. You know, a lot of times in practice, we were taught by our own guys in the room, which can be good. But, you know, it's interesting. You know, how do you kind of mold your season? I'd like to get into that, Monte.
Oh, I don't know if I have mastered anything yet. So.
Yeah, he has.
Just every year's team's different, so there's nothing that transfers over from the previous year to the next year.
So do you stay strict to the basics, teaching them skills first?
Yeah. We don't go. I mean, we kind of rely on them taking responsibility and doing their pre and postseason wrestling. And when they come into the wrestling room, normally our official CHASA start date's November 11th. I mean, we start training that day.
Okay.
We don't start practice. We start training that day. So, and my philosophy is you set the room at the fastest horse. So whoever's the fastest horse, that's what I'm going to set the pace of the room to. And then, it's tough for some of the young guys or the inexperienced guys. And if they stay with it, they grow at a fast rate. But I just believe you're leaving things out for those guys if you back off for the bottom third of the team. So, I mean, that's just what I've kind of done over the years.
Mm-hmm. Where do you consider your toughest position is? Are you a lot of feet, like on your feet wrestling on the mat?
Well, over the years, when I first took the program over, we didn't have a lot of talent. We just got in really good shape, and we just wrestled on our feet. Nobody knew how to wrestle. We just pushed the pace and exhausted guys. Now we just let guys wrestle where they're strong. And we have a couple main areas where we're strict at, and they're just all the basics: stance, hand fighting, positioning, hustle.
Mm-hmm.
And then wrestle where you're strong and not try to change anybody's style. Obviously, if you remember, I mean, takedowns are my favorite. So
yeah,
that's still the same. I think we have the top takedown record in the state of Colorado, like the top 5 for the 90 years that it's as a team throughout the season. They keep track of that. But, in the last couple of years, we've just had hammers on top. So, I mean, if that's where they want to wrestle, then that's where they wrestle. So,
how many assistant coaches do you have, and how many people helping you in your program?
On a regular basis, Dad was in there. I had Ben Charrington, NCAA national champ from Boise State, head coach at Northern Colorado. He's in our room. I have a couple older wrestlers that went through the program that help out with the JV program, and young guys that come in and wrestle and volunteer coaches. But mostly it was Dad and I overall. This stretch was Dad and I.
And your numbers?
This year we're right about at 30.
Okay.
We have over 20 freshmen.
Oh my.
Oh, wow.
20.
Well, last year we graduated either 10 or 11 seniors. So that was the largest class I ever had. Usually most years it's been like 3 or 4. So this year we have 2 seniors, I think 1 junior, and 2 or 3 sophomores, and then 20 freshmen.
Wow.
So yeah, it's interesting.
No, I tell you, Monty, you've always had this little wild side on you. How do you kind of curb that? Is that just through experience? I could tell stories that are probably, could make people blush on here going way back. But no, I don't even know where to start. You and Mike McCormick together was like ready to explode some high school room or hotel.
Yeah, and I've had plenty of those guys on my team too, and I loved them.
Oh, between you and Ted Cash, if you guys trying, because it was like you and Ted Cash were like the big guy and the small guy in the room when they were going to find a way to make you laugh.
Yeah, he was my bodyguard. Either Ted or Corwin, they were my bodyguard.
Okay, here's a question from Chris Hermes saying, sorry for the ignorance, but how far did Milo go in his college career? He was like younger Steiner brothers on the Century teams.
I wonder if he doesn't mean Monty.
Monty. Well, Monty was the national champion for Mary.
Yep.
And tell us what else you did, Monty. when you were, because your college career kind of went all over, and then you end up with your dad. What anything you want to tell Chris Hermes?
Well, my college career definitely was not a traditional route for sure. So out of high school, I didn't qualify to get into a 4-year university. So out of high school, I ended up at Northeastern Oklahoma in Miami, Oklahoma. It was a great program, tough program. When I was down there, I got Halloween. We were working out in Tulsa, and I got hit real hard in the stomach with a double leg working out with Karstetter that ended up wrestling for University of Mary.
Okay.
And it exploded my pancreas. I got a cyst the size of a grapefruit on there. And from Halloween until January 1st, I think I was in the hospital. And then I got out of the hospital, and I thought I could still win nationals. And there's like a month left of the season. I beat the guy in the wrestle-offs and got to region, no matches really, and I took 5th. So I burned a year on 3 matches my freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
And got my grades where they needed to be and transferred and wrestled up for dad, went to Mary sophomore and junior year. Took 3rd as a sophomore, lost a brain fart match in the semis, which was dumb. And then I finished. I went out with Renner and Kringley and those guys. I finished my career out at Oregon State.
Yep. Help Renner and Kringley. I tell you what, a couple more Matt Packers.
Yeah. Yeah, we all lived in the same house together.
Now, I don't want to have those guys come on now and tell stories.
Yeah.
No, Bill, you got some more questions? We're already at an hour. It's amazing, guys.
Yeah. I kind of wanted to get into that little run there too of, Monty's career through high school and college. And, because we talk about, where he's at now coaching, and we can talk about a lot of philosophy, but there's, a lot of people watch that don't, kind of know what happened there. So it's good to see that, just to hear a little of that discussion. But I think if I remember right, I was watching the Gophers wrestle Iowa on Friday night. It didn't turn out that great for the Gophers, but you had a kid on the Gopher team, true freshman, right?
Yeah.
Isaiah Salazar?
Yeah. Isaiah got the go-ahead to start as a true freshman for the Gophers at 84 last weekend. And, man, he's just a couple seconds here or there and a couple positions. And match could have been a little different there, but good showing for him for sure.
I thought so too. I mean, he looks. I'd like to hear a little more about him. I mean, he really looks like that's going to be one of the top kids in the country, and he's right in that match. And if it goes, not that Brands got wore out or anything like that, but it just seemed like he was kind of just getting rolling,
Yeah.
And I think there was a chance there to still win that match if if it goes a little longer. He's right in that match.
Yeah, he's a gem, boy. He's as all around student athlete as you could ever say. I mean, his grades, his social life, and his wrestling are impeccable.
That's great. Great. Yeah, well, that's what it's going to take to make it at that level, isn't it? In the Big Ten. So
yeah,
it's fun to see. Have you had other? I'm sure you have had other college guys go on to wrestle in college here in the last few years.
Yeah, we got a lot of guys. A lot of the Division II schools around Colorado sent a couple guys up to sent one to Moorhead to Chris Nelson, and St. Cloud we sent a guy to Costanzo, and then got a guy out at Nebraska right now, Serrano. He's a 4-time state champ.
Okay.
he's fighting right in there for the 33-pound spot right now as a true freshman. There's an Air Force kid, a couple guys at University of Northern Colorado. So they're all over. They're all over the board. But not, I mean, most of them are at the Division II level, which, I mean, that's as tough as.
I know.
There's only a handful that can get to that other. So, I mean, they've represented our program well at that next level. So.
Yeah, I think it's important when you can help those kids move on into that. And I don't care what level it is, NAIA, Division II or Division I or Division III. It's all very, very valuable, to those kids as student athletes. I've got a son that's at the Division II level right now in his fifth year. And I mean, it's just a great experience. It's just something he's going to have for a long time, right? Have it for life. And it's been a great experience for him.
D2 is a tough level right now. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it's
deep.
It's very deep. And then I don't know, this COVID deal this year, it looks like there's 6 super regionals. It's going to take the top 2 out of each super region that goes.
Yeah.
So, and we got St. Cloud in the super region. So that tells you that we got there's about one spot left in most ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but it's just, I'm curious how, what you've had. And I think that when you talked about, setting your practice pace at the fastest horse, I think that's what helps develop those kids to go to that next level. And that's what I was kind of thinking when you mentioned it. I feel that it raises all of the, the old iron sharpens iron situation, but it raises everybody's level. And then they start seeing kids that move on and go into a college and wrestling. They might be a freshman or a sophomore, and they just know that that's a possibility. So
yeah, absolutely.
Do you set your schedule that way too? Kind of, based on who's going to be able to go get the toughest matches for the Isaiah Salazars down the road.
Yeah, I mean, every year our schedule's never been the same. Any of the years I've been here. This year I didn't get to set any schedule. It was just given to us, and we're total duels. But like last year, we traveled to everywhere as we could find for tough matches, so those guys would stay engaged and stay training and knowing that they just not to be comfortable in our state or region.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, over the years, I've always just set it to kind of the team.
So tell us what Colorado was doing, so everybody knows for wrestling for this year.
So we just really got the get-go to open up the season here. Officially, it started January 19th. And then our first official competition can be the 29th. So our first duel is actually this coming Thursday. And they're allowing us 20 duels. And they're letting us have one Thursday night duel, which is traditionally like a league duel.
Okay.
And then usually they left weekends open up to wherever you want to schedule. But this year it's going to be quads. So we'll have a duel on Thursday and then a quad where there'll be 4 teams, obviously. And that's the maximum amount of teams that can be in a gym. So, and it's 5 weeks. So
okay.
4 or 5 weeks. And then normally there's 4 regions in Colorado, and the top 4 from each region qualify for state. And this year there's still 4 regions, but they're only taking first and second. Wow. And then state will be an 8-man bracket instead of a 16-man bracket. Instead of a 3-day tournament, it'll be a single-day tournament.
Okay. So, they don't do dual tournament for state there?
No, we do not have a dual state tournament.
Okay. Yeah, because North Dakota is totally different. They haven't allowed any tournaments. It's been only 3 teams for Class A in a gym at a time. And so you can't have any quads in Class A, and we are having everybody qualify. And so there's going to be a huge tournament, and I'm not sure how everyone's going to be ready. That's the scary part. Now you got a 32-man bracket over 2 days, and then you're going to do a dual tournament on just Saturday with everybody that qualified for the dual too.
So like 3 or 4 times more wrestling in one weekend than the entire season.
Correct. And so it doesn't make any sense to me at all. And they're splitting Class A and Class B to 2 different sessions during the day. So they're going to start super early in the morning and have the B go first, and then the Class A will go in the afternoon and into late into the evening, both Friday and Saturday, and then or Thursday and Friday. And then Saturday, it's on way more mats too. It's on like 12 mats at one time. They're going to have the finals, 2 matches going at once, and so I'm kind of upset about that. That makes no sense to me.
Right.
That you work so hard, and then all of a sudden they're trying to rush you in and out of that place, And so I don't know. I wish High School Activities Association would listen a little bit more. And I don't know who came up with this schedule. I really don't know. Kind of interesting. No, I tell you what, Monty, I wish you the best of luck. We're doing lots of things, but I do kind of a last. Do you have any last questions for Milo? We could go on. I know we could go for hours. Because we had last couple of weeks have been going like an hour and a half, 2 hours. We don't even stop. But we had Shane Sparks on last week, and it just went on forever. He's great guest. And you guys, of course, the state of Colorado. I want to ask you one more thing about the state of Colorado. Where are they at compared to the rest of the region when you think of overall wrestling? Or who's your main competition, or how could you compare them, the whole state?
I think, well, from the time I started, we won some state titles in I think my 3rd year or so. And compared to where it is now, it's not. We would have been a 6th or 7th place team at where it's now. It's tough. I mean, when we started MatPack, there really wasn't any clubs. There wasn't very many established clubs, even just back in 2008 around here.
Wow.
There was, but just not so much where we don't care where you're from. Just come and work out with us. It was all like, this high school has a club and they just work out with those high school guys.
Sure.
When we started MatPack here, I mean, we had 10 or 12 different high schools working out with my guys, our guys, and they were getting better, but my guys were getting better too. Mm-hmm. So, and there's just a really good presence of the youth club. It's a big Colorado's strong in it. Pueblo, the Springs, Bear Cave up here, obviously. So it's tough. I mean, there's 4 divisions, and each division has about 70 teams. So it's tough.
And the only place out of state, they only place the top 6.
Okay.
Out of 70 teams. And then the regionals, there's about 17 teams. And you got to place in the top 4 or you don't even get to go.
Yeah, I mean, a good year is, if you get 5 to 7 placers,
it's a good year.
I don't know if we've ever gotten more than 7 placers in a year down here.
Well, we should probably just mention how many state champs you had last year.
Well, that was an odd year.
Yeah, it was 5, right?
Yeah, we had 5 and then 2 other placers. So
yeah, that's a pretty good year. Yeah,
those 5 all won handily in the finals, except one only won 5-1, and he had a broken foot and had to take his cast off before the match and then put on the shoe.
Yeah,
but he wanted to be a state champ so bad.
Oh yeah, that's culture.
Yeah, he did. I mean,
yeah, he that was pretty amazing what he did.
That is pretty good.
He won it with a foot sweep. Foot sweep right to the guy's back and got 5 right with one move.
Yeah,
it was nice. It was nice.
Okay, well, I'm gonna get some personality questions from you guys. I call them the quick fire questions, rapid fire questions here. Okay, you both guys can answer these questions. Just get some personality things. First question I always ask is, do you like Powerade or Gatorade? Gatorade or Powerade?
I'm Gatorade all day.
Powerade or Gatorade?
Water.
Water. There we go.
No Powerade, no Gatorade.
Okay. Next one.
I'm Gatorade.
Okay. Popsicles or dilly bars?
Neither.
Yeah, I'm with Dad. I'll pass on both of them.
Okay. Mama's boy or rebel?
Oh, really?
Rebel.
Both.
I know that. You know that answer.
Yeah.
I'm still a mama's boy, though.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Okay.
Mama's
Fast
boys
paced.
can be tough.
Oh, yeah. Fast paced or consistently slow?
Got to keep the pace up.
Fast.
Fast.
Hard pace.
Fast,
Go
hard
hard
pace.
all the time.
Okay. Next one. This is for you. Were you a physical or mental athlete?
Well, I for surely wasn't physical.
I'm thinking you were more physical than mental.
I probably have to go
Yeah.
one of those.
Yeah.
I had my most fun was fooling a guy.
Okay.
If I could fool him and make my takedown easier, that's what I wanted to do, and that was my fun.
Okay. No,
Make him think one thing was happening and something else happens and go, surprise. That's what I like.
Well, it goes back to the first time you were teaching kids, reach up for that half and grab, and then you re-grab that half.
Yeah. Right.
I just tricked you to grab my hand.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because you see guys peel the hand off all the time and say, thank you very much.
Yeah. It just tricked you. Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. Favorite holiday?
4th of July.
Yeah, Monty likes fireworks.
Yeah.
I like Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah.
An old school question here. Dan Gable or Cale Sanderson?
Gable all the way.
Gable for me too.
Yep. Old school guys for sure, Gable people. But I would like to be a fly in the room in Sanderson's room over the last few years and just listen to what he's told his wrestlers.
Yeah, I would like to learn from him.
Yep. Exactly. Favorite number?
1.
7.
7. Lucky number 7. Number 1. Mine has always been 2 for a takedown.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And not second place, but one is pretty good too. That makes okay. How about this one for you, Monty and Milo? Favorite wrestler or best wrestler you ever wrestled?
Oh, mine is Hazel Winkle, the twins from
Okay.
Oh,
St.
yeah.
Cloud.
Yep. From
I
Albertville.
don't
Yeah.
know which one I wrestled, but I wrestled in the finals of an open at South Dakota State.
Okay. And Monty.
Well, besides the list of just mat pack wrestlers in our room every day that goes on and on, Ellen Freed from Okie State, man, I just couldn't.
Yeah.
He's the only guy that I ever the only time I just wasn't very confident.
Yep. How about Trang Doan? No. Old Trang.
Yeah,
Well,
Trang was that's what I was saying. Besides all the guys in our own room over the years, but as far as in the competition side of things, I didn't have much luck with that man.
Yep. I wrestled Henderson once in a national tournament, the guy that's the MMA guy. And I didn't think he was as tough as some of the other guys that wrestled. You know, it's funny. You start getting the connections. There was a MMA fight on last night, and I'm going, I got a connection to, this Henderson of wrestling or fighting the McGregor before. Okay. Here's the next one. Any habit you learned in wrestling that you still do today?
Any habit that what?
You learned in wrestling. Like, I'll give you an example. Myself, I still weigh myself every morning from wrestling. And I drink water like it's the best tasting thing ever. That's the things I learned in wrestling. Is there anything that you learned in wrestling that you still do today?
Well, both the years.
Yep.
I weigh myself all the time, and I drink a lot of water every day. And I like to train,
Okay.
and I like to study wrestling yet.
Always. How about you, Monty?
Punctual. 10 minutes early. If it's something starts at 4 or 3, you're there at 10 minutes before. So
Awesome. You guys, I tell you what, you're great ambassadors for the sport. You guys have done so many great things. Renner's got one thing here. Chad Renner, Milo had the biggest influence on my wrestling career
Wow.
than any coach I've ever had. Miss you, Milo. Hey, brother Monty. That's Chad Renner.
yeah.
Tell us a Chad Renner story.
Thanks, Chad.
Tell us a Chad Renner story. You guys got to have one, either Milo or Monty,
Well,
or both of you.
stories I have with Chad, that those few years we had to wrestle in high school, I just was like, how the hell do I always get on the same side as Chad? And he was a few years younger, and he was always my toughest match. Not really a story, but all our stories from college probably just got to keep quiet.
Mine isn't about Chad, but it's about his son.
Okay.
I was doing a camp. I did camps for Ryan Kringley in West Fargo like 10 years in a row. And Chad's son came to one of those. And he was about 6. And he comes up to me and he said, "Coach, make me tough like my dad." And I couldn't, he looked just exactly like Chad, acted like him. I had called him Chad during the whole camp. But what a great kid. It was so much fun. I've coached, I don't know, probably 30 sons of dads that I coached. And I've coached one grandson of a dad and son that I coached. So I would like to do more.
Yeah.
But it's tough nowadays with this stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
I would really like to do a camp for Mandan High School someday.
Okay.
That's where I started.
I'd love to get you into the room.
I owe them a lot.
Yeah.
I would love to.
Milo, just personal question a little bit. How's your health and your wife and everybody else?
Everybody's doing good. Nobody's gotten COVID, and we all got together for Christmas up here. Jennifer lives in Maryland, but they all flew out. Jennifer, her husband, and 3 kids. So one other thing, Leo is the youngest of 5 grandsons, and the other 4 have all wrestled, and he's the last one, so I'm hoping he will.
Okay.
Even if he doesn't, he's already. The main reason I wanted Monty to wrestle and my grandsons to wrestle is to get the benefits of the things that wrestling teaches you. That was the most important thing, like discipline and being punctual, like Monty said, and all the things that it teaches you. It teaches you how to win and how to lose. You're going to lose sometime. And it teaches to be humble and accept winning with grace and not be a showboat, which both Monty and I don't like. But our guys have never done that. They shake hands and walk off. They don't make a big show, because someday you wouldn't like that if somebody did that to you.
Mm-hmm.
So that is pretty important. But that's what I'm after. And I've gotten it with all 5. So I was pretty lucky.
That is awesome. Awesome. Very good. Milo, I tell you what, I would love to just shake your hand. I don't know if I'd want to wrestle you anymore, but and
well,
you know
I'm
what?
75 now. I don't think you'd have much trouble.
Yeah. but I tell you what, you're a big influence, and you pushed other coaches to be better. And I know that for a fact. My dad would have done anything to just push a mat pack wrestler. Yeah, and to do it because there was competition out there, and he wanted to find the best for his guys too. So who did he go after? He went after Matt Pack. That's what he was. So it's one of those friendly battles. I tell you what, that's awesome. Another good friend of mine, Bill Schmidt, come on. Yep, another guy is awesome, guys. My last comments is, guys, get out there and promote the sport. Bill and I could talk a little bit longer. If you guys want to stay on or not, Monty and Milo, it's up to you guys. We're just going to talk just a little bit about North Dakota wrestling and what's going on. I do thank you guys for coming on tonight, Bill.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you guys coming on. I tell you what really stands out to me is just the humbleness that you guys exude, and this is. People may not realize, I know a lot of people that are watching do realize, but this is absolute wrestling royalty and as humble as can be, and have touched a lot of lives and really just a lot of people are thankful to have been touched by what you guys have done, and both in North Dakota and now it looks like Colorado also. So I thank you for what you've done for the sport.
Thanks for the kind words.
Definitely. Hall of Fame guys in North Dakota, Hall of Fame in my heart, definitely.
Hey, we're lucky to have you doing the grappler deal.
Well, thank you, Milo. Thank you. Got to do anything. North Dakota needs to get promoted too. People, all the wrestlers need their publicity because they need to go to the next level. As the coaches take them places, the parents need that too. Definitely. Okay, Bill.
Right.
Tell us about let's go straight to college stuff, Bill. We're gonna go on for a little bit. You guys can stick on if you want or whatever you need to do. Let's first talk about the Iowa-Minnesota duel. How about that? We're gonna go probably another 10 minutes, guys, is what we're gonna plan on doing if people are still
That's what you want to talk. Thanks, Monty.
That's the first thing I want to talk about because
Monty's signing off. So
we can see you later, Monty. Thanks.
All right, later.
Nope.
See you, Milo.
Yep, see you, Milo.
Thanks for the call.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
We'll do it again, Milo.
Okay.
No, we could go straight to Wisconsin if nothing else.
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Actually, the Iowa duel just showed how tough they are, right? We knew how tough they were. Spencer Lee's, an animal. They're tough up and down the lineup. And the only other thing it probably showed is that Gable Stevenson is who he thought he was, right? I mean, he's a beast, and
he took it to Castle. Yep.
Yeah. Though I thought that it was possible that Minnesota could win 2 matches going in. I thought they could have won at 57, and obviously it was a very close match, and that match could go back and forth as the year goes on. They're not going to wrestle a bunch more times, but they could go the other way. The rest of those matches, you don't see much changing. I do think I wasn't blowing smoke. That Salazar kid is tough. I mean, I would not be surprised if that kid finds himself beating a guy like Nelson Brands later in the year. He's going to win some wrestling matches. So the Gophers actually they're going to be down a little bit this year, but they have 2 true freshmen in the lineup that are both really salty. So that looks good for years to come. So
no, I was impressed with Brands more and more too, because I tell you what, I knew it was a tough match, but Brands has got a lot to give yet. I think he's just starting to turn the corner.
Yeah.
I really think that there's another level with Kevin Kemmer, right? Weight below him and wrestling all the time. And, I guarantee, he's sitting there wrestling quite a bit with Warner in the room. And those two are just going to make him better and better. Warner.
Yep. No, it's good. It's a very, very good team. And they took it to the Gopher. So there's no doubt about it.
Okay. How about our Wisconsin?
Hey, today the Badgers came out, had to put a good duel together against Purdue. And at 100, we'll get to 125 pounds. That's the number 2 kid in the country, and ends up. Oh my gosh, I drew a blank on his name, but Schroeder for Purdue gets right. But he gets pinned in the match just before Kyle Berwick comes out to wrestle. So Berwick, I think, was pumped up, and he literally went 110 miles an hour for 7 minutes. And I tweeted out today, I literally think he had the kid broke in 35 seconds. The kid had no idea what was going to happen next. He just, Barnett, right?
Right.
Thanks, Dave. But Kyle looked good. He just came forward all the time. He was attacking the whole time. Ends up getting a major, his first D1 varsity win, 8-0 after riding time. Looked really good. I was very, very impressed. And he lost 2 matches last weekend, but he wrestled the same way. So that kind of tells you that's the mentality that Kyle's always had, and there's going to be more of them. So he's going to have tougher matches as the time goes on too. He's in the Big Ten, and it's every week you're going to be beating your head against somebody tough. So, but I was really impressed. He looked really good. Yep. And the Badgers came out on top of the duel, so that was nice to see their first home duel of the year. Good to see.
Okay, how about the Northern Minot? Just going to pick out a couple of ones.
Yeah, made the trip to Minot. Northern looked really good.
I watched it. It was on TV. I didn't have to go. They had it on.
I think they may be televising every one of their duels on back. There was Northern was had a little. It had no 97 pounders, so they bumped to 74 pounder up to wrestle 97. Besides that, I think the deal kind of went the way I expected it to. They looked really good in the middleweights. It was kind of, and then they had some extra matches afterwards, which is good, like a lot of these. So we saw some North Dakota South kids in there. We got one thing that you probably didn't see on the TV is we had
extra matches.
Yeah, 2 twin brothers wrestled, one from Minot, one from Northern. Landon and Logan Fisher from Rapid City wrestled each other in the match after the duel. So that was kind of fun.
Okay.
Billy wrestled a kid was a Davies kid, another North Dakota kid. So, he won, I think Billy won 15-3. That was a good match. It was good. I mean, Adam DeBoer wrestled the match, looked great.
Okay.
It looked as good as I've seen Adam look. It was great. It was fun. It was a fun night of wrestling. Gets to be a late night when you're trying to make those trips, but Northern came out to 3-0, sitting on top of the, tied with Mankato and St. Cloud too. St. Cloud has one less match than the other 2 teams, but they're sitting on top of the dual rankings. So it's good to see that out of the Rockies guys, and they got on the schedule. Hopefully it all happens. Things have been getting kind of goofy, but Northern will wrestle, has Moorhead is coming to Northern this week. So hopefully that one happens.
Yes, we will have Aaron Larson on very soon. York, I tell you what, I think he was busy. I had asked him right before Christmas, and we'll get him on because I tell you what, the Valley City's got a great team. They won the East, and that side, they will be the number 1 dual team sitting out there. And so I tell you what, we'll probably face each other. Century and Valley City should be one heck of a duel. But we'll have Coach Larson on in the very near future because if he's available, it might be very soon. Might be as soon as maybe Wednesday if he's available. We'll check. We'll check on that. Thanks, guys. I tell you what, they have a nice team. They wrestled against Lisbon, earlier this year. Lisbon did win that duel, but Lisbon is probably the number 1 team in Class B going in. They took out South Border this weekend.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know that, catch some scores. You can always go on. They do a great job. Lisbon promotes really well on Twitter. If you guys haven't seen that, he's nice comment. He's a farmer. He's always available at this time of the year.
Yeah. I don't know. I see Aaron was on. I don't know if he's still in. I heard a rumor that there may still be a duel this year between Valley City and Carrington. That may happen. So
okay.
I don't know that for sure, but there was some talk about it.
I didn't look close enough at the results. I did see that Pembina County North beat Carrington.
They did. Yep.
And how close was that duel?
Close duel, very close duel. Actually came down to the last match, and that match went into overtime. So and the northern Pembina County North kid beat number 1 ranked kid in the state, Matthew Dukeshire. In an overtime
headlock or something.
It was in overtime. I mean, it was.
Is that what it was? Okay,
yeah,
what's funny is somebody put it on live and said this match will determine, and I was watching it, but they didn't have commentary, so I thought that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah. That was it. It was instant victory. So at that point, that was it. But yeah, so I mean, it wasn't yeah, Matthew he maybe could have wrestled better, but that it's, he let that one go. There was some stuff that I didn't understand when I watched the match, but we're gonna, I don't know. Matthew will be fine. Okay, and then Carrington came back, and I was a little nervous coming back that true second match because they kind of you got to come off a little bit of a downer, and you got to go wrestle that next match, and wrestling a good team at Central Cass, but Carrington looked good. I mean, they came out and took care of business in that match. So yeah, it'll be those will be. And I really have to apologize because I do not have the results for Region 3. I kind of saw some of them come out on Twitter, but I do not know what happened in the Region 3 duels.
Well, Region 3 and Region 4 hasn't been determined yet.
Okay, though. I thought Region 3 had their duel this weekend too.
Yeah, because I had seen it was just Region 1 and Region 2. But
okay,
here's the crazy thing. Somebody was saying, well, these are the two that qualified for the duels, and I thought everybody qualified originally. But they must be still determining just taking 8 and 2 from each region. Is that what Class B kind of decided? Yeah,
I guess so. Yep. That's one thing about these regional dual tournaments. They are not a high school activities association event, right? They're the regional. They're a regional event. Yeah, and then they decide who's going. Just like for a long time. February 6th. That's going to be when the Region 3 duels are. You think?
Yep.
So that would be 1 week before state. That seems like we don't have enough of a break.
6. No, it's the 19th.
Oh no,
weekend. No,
that'd be 11 days. Yeah,
right.
17. Yep. You're right. Right on. Correct. So, we'll find out. I guess. I know Region 4 goes next weekend on the 29th. They're having their. There we go. Carrington versus Valley City the 6th. Okay.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
okay.
I was kind of thinking that was right, but that must be Tim Miller on.
Okay.
He would know. And
big T.
So I think so I actually believe that some of these Class B kids out of Region 2 are going to get a few more matches here before the state tournament. They're going to get one more tournament. They're going to get a duel. They're going to duel Devils Lake and West Fargo. And I think that Valley City duel, I think, is maybe a triangular. So, okay. So those kids in this area are going to get a few more matches, and it looks to me like they need it. The conditioning looks pretty good. I saw some pretty good matches in the other duels that I watched from Central Cass. So, Region 1 looked like Lisbon must have kind of straightened out what they had going on the first time they wrestled South Border. So,
well, I had heard a rumor that they kind of underestimated how good South Border was, and they kind of didn't go in with a full head of steam, and didn't was it was like we're just going to wrestle them straight up, not think about what's happening. And guess what? They didn't take it, and then all of a sudden, guess what? It's
too good a squad and too good a coaching staff to let off easy. I'm going to tell you, looking at that South Border lineup, that after a year here or so, you're going to hear nothing but South Border for 5 or 6 years. They got a lot of kids in the room and young. Yeah, they're really good. So
then all of a sudden, Velva said, the one that I was surprised about is Velva. I thought was going to be the team maybe to beat. People were saying, and I don't see that right now. What do you have any opinions about that?
Not that I've seen. I mean, I
think they were at the rugby tournament last weekend,
week before. Yeah,
week before, and I saw some good individual results, but not as a full team that I was expecting. So I don't know. That's the big challenge of this year is where are people really at without having a regional individual and seeing what's going on there. Could be interesting because there's going to be some wild cards. Class B is going to be way different than Class A because you're going to have two sides where you go 1 versus basically 16 and not quite. If you're ranked to the top 8, a lot will be drawn in. But if you go to the quarters where you go 1 and 8, you don't know. People could have been upset by then. That 8 person doesn't necessarily going to get there in some places there. And in Class B, that could be way different too.
Yeah, I think they're going to seed the top 8, draw the rest in.
Okay.
So,
you're thinking in the whole state 8, top 8? Okay.
That's what I understand.
So region placement. Right. Yeah, that could be.
Well, there's no regional tournament. So,
right.
Now I I think there will be a non-sanctioned Region 2 tournament next weekend. So you'll have some chances to see some of these kids match up. And we saw some of it this weekend too in the regional duels, but you don't see everybody. Were able to see a few more because we had to wrestle the true second match. Carrington was able to see a few more. You got those top 3 teams got to kind of mix it up, but there was a little bumping, so we didn't see everybody wrestle.
Okay.
Like at 145, Breckenler did not see Horgan, so that's going to be that's I would say the top 2 kids. I'm not a ranker, but I think they're the top 2 kids in the state. So
sure,
it's not official Dakota Grappling rankings. That's my opinion, and I think we got 2 of the top kids in the state at 220. Also, they did not wrestle. So,
what have you seen for total number of matches? The most that you've seen out of one person? Have you seen guys with records?
15, maybe
15,
20, maybe. There may have been some 20s this weekend.
Okay.
Some kids. I wonder if they have this. I wonder if it's updated. Yeah, I think there may have been. Not. I would. Well, at least and I'll say, probably on the Carrington side, because those kids probably had more matches than like the Pembina County North kids. Central Cass maybe has a. Okay. I don't see any records in here from kids. So, but yeah, it's somewhere in that.
Okay.
16 to 21 type range, I would say.
What's funny, that's old school, like 1970s.
Yes, it is. That's like what I had. That's what we wrestled. Well, let me look here. I bet I can get a pretty good idea here. Michael Clifton hasn't missed any matches. Let's see. He hasn't been in the wrestlebacks anywhere either, so that doesn't. But he probably has. Oh, let's see here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 20, 21.
Okay.
21. That's probably right up there towards the top. Like I said, yeah. You haven't had those tournaments where he hadn't been any tournaments where wrestlebacks. He'd been in 5-man round robins. So, that's going to get you 4 matches where a lot of times you go to a tournament you only get 3. So yeah, looks like he's had 21. Might be a forfeit or 2 in there, but they probably still count matches, I guess. But I would say that's kind of the area. You guys Century wrestled Dickinson?
Correct. We did kind of a roundabout type thing where we wrestled kind of an unofficial duel, and we kind of mixed and matched a few guys in there. Afterwards, Century threw in some JV guys even in the varsity match.
Okay,
and then we had 2 mats going at the same time. Then we had JV going the same time as the varsity match. So we just keep calling guys in, and then they went a second time around to try to get a second match with somebody close, and so it just kept rolling. Most everybody got 2 matches, but Dickinson did it right because then they brought in St. Mary's after we left because they basically cleared us. St. Mary's came in and they did it twice again.
Oh, really?
And so their wrestlers got like 4 matches in a day, and I'm going, we haven't got a chance to wrestle 4 matches in a day, and I loved it, even though my boy's getting his butt kicked 4 times probably. But just that everybody else on the team needs those 4 matches. It needs to get one of those days. Because I'm actually really kind of scared coming to the state tournament. You get 3 or 4 on a Thursday, 3 or 4 on a Saturday. They're not ready for the 4 matches again on Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They could, they have to be prepared mentally and physically. So it's going to be
it'll be tough. It'll be tough. It's always going to be tough to win the state tournament. So it's not going to be any tougher this year than any other year. You gotta. I mean, it may feel physically tougher for some kids, but it's just hard to win a state title, and the kids that have been putting the work in the room are going to be the ones that and put it in during the summer. They're the ones that are going to be standing on the podium, and they're still, and those have not been decided yet, right? I mean, they're going to have to go there and fight every match right to the end.
I've said that for years when I've done rankings, is that these rankings are not what happens at state. It's right. It's an opportunity for somebody to say, guess what? We have an opportunity. We're right there. Or guess what? There's guys many years that haven't been ranked that can place. But it's just, guess what? Y'all still have to put it together come the state tournament. I've
Yep.
many guys who were ranked 1 all year and not win the state tournament, but they were just good at that point. They weren't that day. If you know what I mean.
Rankings are not a prediction; they're just a ranking. They're a picture of what's happened in the past. So, not the future. So I'm excited. I think I think we still got a couple more good weeks of wrestling. I'm actually, it's the college side has me nervous. We've had Penn State lose a couple weeks. The state of Michigan just shut down everything, or not the state of Michigan. University of Michigan just shut down all athletics. So, they were supposed to duel Iowa this weekend or next weekend. And so they're all shut down. And we've seen a few of these Division II teams, with COVID issues, cancel and stuff. So, that's probably what has me pretty nervous. I hope we're doing everything right in the state of North Dakota and we don't have any problem getting to the state tournament. And having just a good weekend in Fargo. So I think that, it's going to be a weird tournament. There's no doubt about it, but why wouldn't it be? I mean, everything else has been weird. So it should happen that way, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. No, I honestly, there's so much.
One more thing I do want to mention. I did see some results and there was some great wrestling out in Dickinson. Dickinson State had, a quadrangular out there. They had, they had more than that. They had 5 teams there.
Five
teams. 2 teams from Montana, Providence, and Northern Montana State Northern were there, and then Dakota Wesleyan from down in Mitchell, Jamestown, and of course Dickinson, and that it's fun that lineup. Dickinson lineup is littered with North Dakota kids, so it's fun to see those results. And I've said that in the past. It's not a team I don't follow. I do. We just run out of time to talk about it on here. It's been a bummer this year because generally Northern we will duel them. So then it kind of gives me a week or two to to really pay attention to who who's out there and and through the last 5 years we've not gone out to the Dickinson Open tournament every year, but some kids have gone every year. Billy wrestled it in a couple of years and, wrestled North Dakota kids wrestled Schwagler kid from, Minot that was kind of one of those that was kind of neat from Mandan that was kind of neat to see because he was I don't know, several years older than Billy. Billy was a true freshman and he was, so they were like 2 separate eras. Almost seemed like it coming out of high school and they, here they get to meet at a college tournament and, that was fun, and he wrestled Sean Elkins at the same tournament. It was good. It was, so it's been it was fun to do that.
Do you understand why NDSU takes the big break on their schedule for wrestling from, I think they were done January 10th and they don't go till February?
Well, they were supposed to go to California this weekend. They have a COVID issue, so they didn't.
That was their big thing on their schedule.
Yeah, it was on the NDSU side because the teams out in California still did wrestle. They had I think Little Rock, Arkansas, University of Arkansas, Little Rock came out to California and dueled with Fresno, Cal Poly, and Bakersfield maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, NDSU was supposed to be in California this weekend.
I missed that because I'm going. That's a huge break. And I knew it on their schedule, but I kind of got canceled at one time.
Yeah, it's part of the kind of the scariness that we've been talking about. It's just you just don't know when it could happen, and you hope it doesn't happen in a really bad time, before Big 12s or, you just got to really, be careful and hopefully getting maybe getting a little COVID in the room is a blessing, and you don't have another issue. Through the national tournament, but
okay,
it'll, As far as South Dakota College wrestling, I guess the other duel that did happen today was St. Cloud went to Augustana and wrestled. Augustana wrestled them tough. I watched the duel.
He got a couple wins. Yeah,
they actually got 3 wins.
3 wins.
In really tough weights at 49, 57, and 74, and the 49 and 57 pounders for St. Cloud are ranked, 1, 2, 2, 3, whatever in the country. So real good wins. Augie's tough. They're always tough at every weight. They're scrappers and, but St. Cloud's really good. So.
Okay. Well, my goal is to get another South Dakota person on probably this week, either probably Wednesday, and then probably I'm going to see if Aaron Larson, I'll give him a call or give him a message, see if we can get him on. I'd like to hear some stuff about the east side of the state. Haven't gone there for a while. Then I wouldn't mind finding in the next short amount of time someone from that northeast corner of the state a little bit, talk some of those Williams County, somewhere up there. Northwest corner, somewhere up there. Northeast, I could always get somebody like from Carrington or something. Well, not quite all northeast, but I could always go.
Oh, it would be good to get someone from Region 3, Valva, or any Williams County or.
So if somebody's out there
Ryan,
listening and want to get on from way up in Region 3, I'd love to have somebody. Delax Burlington. Yep. It'd be nice to get somebody. Even if I could find a way to get rugby in, somebody on that side would be awesome to talk. Well, guys, I don't know, Bill. I think I've run the gamut of stuff, but I can always talk more wrestling.
Yep. No, it's good. It's just good to have touch base with Monty and Milo. It's great to have them here. And then we're getting into that time of the season where we normally would be just ramping up the postseason stuff, and now we're going to kind of try to limp our way into the state tournament. I hope it goes great.
Yep. Me too. And then the East West, all those things, East
West. I don't even know what to do next. I might get my calendar just, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, it's East West weekend. Nope, we didn't get that. And then we got, regional duels, which we did get. So yeah, we're gonna forge on through and get to the state tournament.
Okay. Again, guys, thank you so much for coming to watch. We've been going almost a good 2 hours again tonight, but do appreciate it. I'll catch the end of that football game. I'm not sure who's winning. If, we got to catch that a little bit. And then, it looks like Kansas City. It looks like they're going to run the gamut there. Sorry, Buffalo Bills fans. But we're going to talk wrestling again Wednesday. I'll put some stuff out on social media, and we'll go from there. Everybody make sure you promote your sport, wrestling. Thanks again for watching. Jon Gums, Dakota Grappler, and Bill Holton. Guys, thanks again.